Okay. Hello, everybody. So we're going to start the day off. Just look at the schedule very quickly here. You will see that the Team Lady Lions will pitch first, and we have Looking Ahead, Team Fashion Forward, Team Amp, Team Siphon, and then finally Team Ephemeral. And then we will hear a little bit from Ayana Klein. She is the co-founder of Three Ducks, and she'll be talking to us a little bit while the judges are talking about the awards. And at 5:15, probably a little bit before then, we'll actually get to find out who won the awards for the day. So without further ado, we're going to start off with a little video that tells you a bit about Project Invent, and then I will introduce myself in more detail and tell you how the day is going to unfold.
Hi, I'm Samhita.
My name is Maximilian Chavez.
My name is Carmelita Lee.
Our product for today is for children with autism because they find it extremely hard to identify their emotions and cope with stress.
We created the Beta Band, which is essentially a headband. It reads your beta waves, which fall in between a certain low and high beta wave. And if you're outside that range, then your brain is not acting as a normal brain.
Project Invent has definitely impacted my sense of teamwork. I can collaborate a lot more with my peers, have that design thinking into mind. How can we target our users and have the best influence and the greatest impact on their lives?
Working and coding and doing all that stuff, it gave me a chance to be familiar so that I'm not as intimidated going into college. And it's actually made me a lot more excited for freshman year of college.
We've definitely opened our minds up a lot more, and we've learned how to cope with maybe our product not working and still learning from our mistakes.
Having interacted with people who are on the spectrum, young adults and little children, and seeing what they go through and understanding their experiences, and then being able to put that into a product, engineer something, and then see that truly affect them and help them.
A lot of people try and create products for people that they don't even they've never even talked to before. So we had a lot of things that we thought would be good, but after talking to people who actually use wheelchairs, they were we don't have problems with that. So it just you really should talk to people and get to know them before you make assumptions about things that they struggle with.
I think the impact has been huge, and it's changed my outlook towards for project-based learning and education a lot, actually. The reason is because prior to Project Invent, I focused a lot on just developing technical skills and having the students learn laser cutting, 3D printing, soldering, sort of for the sake of learning 3D printing, laser cutting, and soldering. But working with Project Invent and anchoring these technical skills to a real-world problem has really, I think, made the learning experiences more meaningful for the students so that they understand what the application is, and has helped with retention and student involvement. It's been really great.
None of these girls came into this project thinking that they were inventors or makers, or that this kind of thing was something they even wanted to do. All of them, I believe, have been radically transformed just by this idea that the world is invented, right, and designed, and that they can participate in designing that world, right? I watched them gain confidence interviewing people, really understanding and delving into design thinking and human-centered design. I watched them struggle through prototyping and then succeed and feel really empowered by that. We have 4 women here who are ready to take on the world and change the world with the invention that they're making. And this is not something that they would have even considered doing in September of this year.
It's been really amazing being able to turn a problem into a solution just through engineering. And so I think Project Invent has taught me that anything that you see out in the world, if you think there's a way that you can fix it, it's totally doable, and that there are resources out there and people out there willing to support you throughout the journey.
This is bigger than just us.
All right, so as you saw in the video there, Project Invent is a very powerful program that empowers students with the 21st century skills to not only succeed individually and impact globally through invention, but it also helps create a generation of fearless, compassionate problem solvers. And so welcome again. My name is Jim Hausman, and I am going to be the MC for today's event. You're going to be hearing pitches from a number of teams of talented, innovative high school students from around the country who have created inventions for social good. These students are amazing. Throughout this year, they built inventions from the ground up with the goal of helping solve a number of problems throughout society. These students are building the skills to literally save the world, and they're doing so with an incredible support network and instructor of the Project Invent program, which empowers young people to innovate all year round. And today is connecting these impressive young people and the hard work that they've done with the deeply accomplished investors, executives, and visionaries in the tech industry. At this point, Luis is going to drop a link into the chat and tell you a little bit more. If you click on that link, you'll get some more information about Project Invent. Excuse me, my computer is going a little crazy here. A little bit about me before we get started. I am a classroom teacher and I'm a STEM advisor at South Fayette High School in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've been teaching for 21 years, but I started my invention learning journey at Autodesk in San Francisco's Pier 9 back in July of 2016. Since then, my students have gone on to win multiple invention awards at both the state and national levels. I've helped train Project Invent fellows, some of who are here today, and I continue to preach the power of invention learning to anyone and everyone. I'm particularly interested in the role of storytelling and the role that storytelling plays in invention. And a fun fact about me is that actually I'm an English teacher. So you don't see many of us in STEM circles, but we certainly should be. So my role today is to help facilitate and keep things moving along so you can hear from these amazing students and accomplished panelists. The way that the show is going to work today is we're going to meet some of our judges here before we hear the pitches. And we're also going to talk about logistics. So it's a 2.5-hour event, but we probably will not get to the full time. Don't worry, if you need to go out and get a snack or take a little break, you are more than welcome to go do that. When the pitches begin, each team will present no longer than a 5-minute pitch video. And then they will have 4 or so minutes to do a question and answer session with the panelists. At the end of the event, the judges are going to deliberate and choose 3 teams today to receive awards. While the students present, there's a few ways that you can actually interact with the teams. Go ahead and check out the features in Zoom. Use reactions to cheer the teams on, or the chat to share words of encouragement. Let's test that out right now by wishing all of the teams and our students good luck. Awesome. And finally, if you will see in the chat, Luis is going to go and drop a link for any donations that you care free to or feel free to donate. We would greatly appreciate it. Again, Project Invent is a nonprofit organization, and the work that they do year round to help the students ideate and incubate inventions for social good, and events like this one, Demo Day, with connecting those students to industry professionals, are all made possible by the donations that Project Invent receives. And from people like you. So please, if you can, donate today. Project Invent is able to train teachers. We're able to run today's event and support teams because of the generosity of our community and people like you. So please do consider donating if able. All right, without further ado, let's meet the panelists. The first panelist today is Lisa Schumacher. She is from Gut Check, and she is the Vice President of Strategic Accounts. Lisa, in a quick sentence, what are you most excited about seeing today from our students?
Hey, everybody. Well, I'm most interested in understanding what you learned as you went on your journey of discovery. Just as we heard in the video, you know, you never know what you're going to find out till you actually talk to the person who has the problem. And I am extraordinarily passionate about that discovery journey. And I want to hear what your journeys have been like. So that's what I'm hoping to see today.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. Our second panelist is Timothy Adcock. He works at Impact Ventures as an advisor. And in a quick sentence, what are you most excited about seeing from our students today?
Well, what I'm most interested in seeing is how they're able to overcome unintended obstacles that they encounter during the process, right? Everyone runs into those, and I'm really interested to see what they had to do to overcome obstacles, no matter what they were.
Absolutely, thank you. Our third panelist is Mike, is it Jacob?
Jacob, that's right.
Awesome, from Google, where he works as a user experience lead for Google on iOS. Welcome. And Mike, in a quick sentence, what are you most excited about seeing today from our students?
Yeah, great. Thanks. I'm happy to be here. I'm looking forward to seeing just some good ideas. I'm a big idea guy, so just want to see them. So good luck to everybody.
Awesome. So this is a perfect time to let you know that our today's event rather is sponsored by Google. Google's mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Google is committed to significantly improving the lives of as many people as possible. And we are very thankful to Google for helping make our demo day today possible and for providing the $2,000 of funding for the prizes awarded today. Actually, $1,500, I forgot, because we have 3 teams today, not 4. So I apologize, but $1,500 from Google today will go out to the 3 teams. Thank you very much, Google. All right, now that you have met the panelists, it is time for the main event. Each team will have 5 minutes to pitch and then 4 minutes for questions from the panelists. A quick reminder to the student teams before we begin, you have done the hard work. You have identified your problem to solve. You've designed and redesigned. You've interviewed users. You've spent dozens of hours coding and building circuit boards and so much more. Now is your time to celebrate that hard work and to show off what you've done, to advocate for your work, for your invention, to learn and grow with some of the best professionals in the industry. So please take a deep breath, shake off the nerves, and let's have fun. All right, let's do this. The first team up is Team Lady Lions from South Fayette High School in McDonald, PA, and they created Matic. Matic allows the blind to look beautiful by helping them feel makeup color and shades.
Hello, my name is Sejal Verma. And my name is Shreya Rathi. And today we're going to present our product, Matic, that is going to revolutionize the makeup industry. As we began our Project Invent journey, we had the joy of meeting Chloe and Darlene, as well as their caretaker, Miss Nadine, from the Pennsylvania School for Blind Children. Darlene is the one in the middle and has limited vision, and Chloe's on the right-hand side and is fully blind. They're both energetic and enthusiastic individuals, and we loved working with them. As we began talking to them, we soon learned more about how their visual impairment hindered them from taking part in everyday activities that for us seemed to be normal. Specifically, within their morning routines, they both don't use makeup, as it is an activity that would require additional assistance. Makeup is something that empowers women all over the world and makes them feel confident and beautiful. We wanted to give Chloe and Darlene the chance to feel the same way, and so we began to do some research on how to make makeup accessible for them. The first course of action was to find out existing solutions. The majority of companies had no accessible features, and the few that did used Braille on their packaging. However, what these companies fail to realize is that only 1 in 10 blind people can actually read Braille, meaning that 90% of their consumer base among the blind is neglected. Therefore, just implementing Braille further marginalizes an already marginalized community. Content creators like Molly Burke, a blind YouTuber, have spoken out about this issue. She said that her hands are the way she sees the world, so she looks for makeup that appeals to her sense of touch. We use the information from Molly Burke and other community partners to create Matic, an eyeshadow palette that utilizes the user's sense of touch rather than their sight to determine the different shades. Each shade is a button, so when it is pressed, a corresponding vibration is emitted by the vibration motor. Essentially, in one hand the user holds the output device, while in the other they apply the makeup with a makeup brush. To successfully execute the vibrational feedback, we organize the palette into a 3x3, so the strength of the vibration increases along the row, and the number of vibrations increases along the columns. For prototyping purposes, we designed the palette into 3 different levels. The bottom one encompasses all of the electrical components. The second level contains the sensory array, and the top level holds the eyeshadow shades. Our product, in comparison to others on the market, encompasses a greater variety of features than its competition. It fulfills all of the needs of blind users through a multitude of differing features that directly target the user's needs, making our product the best on the market. Once we finished our prototype, we brought it to Chloe and Darlene to try it out, and this was their reaction.
Does it feel different from the first box? Yeah. So what that is, it's a little darker. Yeah. So as it gets darker, now it's even darker. Push down. So now it's even darker than the one before. Do you see the difference? Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Do you feel the difference? Yeah. Okay, got it. I also wanted to tell you ladies that this is a wonderful prototype. We're so grateful, right, ladies? Yeah. Does it feel different from the first?
As shown through the clip, the girls were so excited and ecstatic to be able to use makeup for the very first time. They highly enjoyed the sensory elements of the palette and gave us critical feedback to work off of. But the most important thing that they said was that the device made them feel confident. They felt empowered and beautiful as young women and felt independent as they were able to put the product on by themselves. Our next steps are to revise the prototype in accordance with their feedback. So we plan to replace the buttons with haptic sensors and add a makeup brush that contains the output so that the user feels the vibration in the same hand instead of in the different hand. Additionally, we plan on adding an auditory element using sound, and we want to create a more compact and portable palette. Our palette is the new face of technology within the makeup industry. By revolutionizing the way blind people use makeup, we empower them, give them independence, and break barriers around traditional makeup products to open the gates of inclusivity. Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and the Lady Lions team will have 4 minutes to answer questions from the judges.
I'll go first. Lady Lions, congratulations, great work. Curious to know, what was the leap from understanding the problem with Braille, the fact that so few people, use it, which is fascinating. I did not know that. What conceptual leap did you make from understanding that to figuring out your first prototype? And so what was that leap? And the follow-up question is, how many times did you iterate on potential prototypes before getting to this one?
So Shreya worked a lot with the development, so I think she could answer that question.
Thank you, Sadie. So I definitely feel that the leap that we took from learning about Braille and the marginalized community that is affected by it, because only 10% can actually read it, to going to creating a vibrational output was really understanding that blind users like a feel of sensory elements. So as we mentioned, Molly Burke was one of our inspirations, and she discussed in her video how she really likes when she has tactile feeling, and whenever she can either smell a product or any other sense on her body that's enacted and rather than sight. And so that's where we kind of came up with the vibrational idea. And with that, we came up with a few other ideas simultaneously. We originally also considered using Braille before we had conducted enough research. Then we kind of scratched that idea and moved on to think about, could we do audio or could we do vibrational? We chose vibrational initially because we wanted to give our users something to correlate a shade color with. So for somebody who is blind from birth, they wouldn't really understand what the color red really means. They would rather associate it with something. And so we wanted to give a vibrational pattern for them to associate it with.
Thank you.
So I have a question. So when you're going through this prototyping, did you have to make changes to the amount of vibration for each shade? I mean, was there a different level of gradient, and did you have to go through iterations of that, like to say go from a light shade to a dark shade for them to be able to understand the differences for that? I'm curious how much difference the vibration had to be to get them to understand what the differences in the shading was going to be.
So Sejal worked a lot with the coding aspect of the product, so I think she could answer that question for you.
Do you mind if I share my screen?
Sure. Let me make sure you can.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you. So this is
You have about 30 seconds left, Sejal.
okay, got it. So this is the pattern that we organized it with. And as you can see from the top left, which would be the lightest shade, you have the smallest buzz. And on the bottom right is the darkest. So that's the most intense buzz and the greatest amount. So that's the logical pattern that we organized it with, which is that the smallest has the lightest frequency and the darkest has the largest frequency and amount of buzzes.
Yeah, we wanted to make it so it was easily understandable for the users to understand how the shades progressed in darkness and the different tones. So the
Time is up. So finish up your thought. Yeah. Sadie, did you get enough in?
Oh yeah, I was just saying how the vibrations, how they are logically organized helps users understand the shade.
Perfect. Sorry, 4 minutes goes by really fast. So we're gonna transition back to the presentation and watch the next pitch. Okay. Lee, this is being difficult. I'm gonna have to go like that, I guess.
Hello, my name is Sejal Verma. And my name is Shreya Rathi. Okay. And today,
you know what? I'm gonna have to
Hey,
cancel.
Jim.
Yeah, the way that it's
Sometimes if
working. Yep.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm just gonna I'll just start on the next screen. I think it's just the way that Zoom works. So, okay. There we go. We got Summers High School. And this is the team looking ahead from Summers, Connecticut, and they created Iris T, which is a portable camera and monitor that will magnify text anywhere. Here is their pitch.
Imagine as a student needing large print textbooks and trying to carry around not only one huge textbook for class, but multiple huge textbooks that make up one single book, as well as the frustration of trying to find the exact book in large print. Imagine at your high school job as a cashier being at work and wanting to make sure you're pressing all the right buttons but struggle to see them. We are a team looking ahead and we have created the Iris. I am Jade and my teammates are Maddie, Isabella, Bianca, Kaya, Lindsay, and Emma. We are a team looking ahead, an all-girls team that consists of a combination of freshmen and seniors from Summers High School from Summers, Connecticut. Dana was diagnosed with congenital glaucoma when she was young, which means the fluid in her eyes doesn't drain properly. Her combined visual acuity is 20 out of 70, and she has trouble seeing text below size 20. Currently, she relies heavily on her iPad to zoom in on text and other objects. Dana is looking forward to being more independent as she moves on to college, but with new surroundings comes new challenges. Dana was looking for something that would help her to be able to see text such as on the cash register at her job, as well as reading textbook for school. Dana is not alone with her vision problems. According to Centers for Disease Control, vision disability is one of the top 10 disabilities among adults 18 years and older and one of the most prevalent disability conditions among children.
The Iris will help Dana be able to see any text larger in real time. The Iris works by the user moving their wrist with the camera over any text. The text will then appear on the screen on the top of your wrist. The user will be able to zoom in and out as desired text size on the screen. The user will still have full access of their wrist while they are using the camera, allowing them to be able to leave the device on while completing other tasks. The top image shows our original design, and the bottom image is the current Iris prototype. We first started making a prototype out of materials from our makerspace in our school library. For our camera, we had envisioned it would go directly underneath the wrist with the screen on top of the wrist. For the second prototype we made, we had two straps made of net elastic holding the product onto the arm. We showed Dana this prototype and she made some helpful suggestions, such as wanting her wrist to be more mobile. We then reiterated the second prototype into a third prototype by making the two wristbands so they were thicker and sewn together to create something almost like an armband. We then added fingerless gloves and sewed the armband to the glove, creating a stretchy glove that made out of a more comfortable material. At this time, we decided that the Raspberry Pi should be moved from its original location with the screen to the bottom of the wrist with the camera. We envisioned that the screen would have a 3D printed case, but unfortunately, our 3D printer had some malfunctions. We came up with a new plan and went back to the makerspace for some other material. We then decided to use cardboard and made the current case you can see here. We would like to market Iris for $215. The materials make up the bulk of the price, but with the help sourcing parts, we think this cost could be lowered, which would increase the market. Even though the closest tech competitor is the original wrist cam for Apple Watch at $299 for the original and $399 for the limited version, we wanted to keep the price lower because our goal was to create an affordable product that most people could use. Apple Watches currently have a wristband that attaches to the Apple Watch with the camera right above the Apple Watch itself. Since it is forward-facing, it is meant to be used for video calls and would be challenging to read text at this angle. Many people own cell phones and tablets that have zoomable camera capabilities and are fairly portable. However, these devices require that you hold them at the same time as trying to look through the camera, leaving only one hand free. The screen used in the Iris slightly is larger than an iPhone but is smaller than an iPad. Dana has stated that she frequently uses an iPad to take a picture of the text and then zoom in. The Iris would eliminate the need to take so many pictures and having to go back and trying to find the exact picture needed. The magnifying glass is an affordable option in many features such as built-in lights or stands. However, Dana said that the fixed magnification that most glasses have is not large enough for her to see as well, and the focal area is too small to be useful. In the future, the case for the screen would be a 3D printed case. We would also like to use a smaller Raspberry Pi to make it less bulky and attach it to the screen at the top of the wrist to make it more functional. Eventually, we would also like to add a power source to make it wireless, eliminating the bulky wires. Moving forward, we would like to help finalize our design and testing it with a wider group of users. We want to improve Iris's function and form to provide a more enjoyable user experience.
Okay, so that was team looking ahead, and you now have 4 minutes for a question and answer.
Mike, why don't you go since you didn't get to go the last time?
Awesome, I appreciate that. Thank you. So great. Thanks for putting that all together. I think the biggest question I have is, you kind of touched at it at the end of your video, but like, what would you do next? Like, imagine this was real and it went through and everything was great. You could sell it, you have a profit. What's next? Like, what would your team do next?
So our product right now, it's a little bulky. So we definitely want to cut down on the bulkiness, maybe get like smaller Raspberry Pi so it's more portable, and it is kind of heavy right now, so that would help with the heaviness as well.
Also, there is talks of like flexible cameras. So in the future, if this comes out, we'd like to look into that so it's easier for Dana, keep in mind, Dana, we would like for it to be easier for her to just be able to kind of go over her text and see it and like have it less bulky for her.
Awesome, thank you.
We also have a lot of wires and stuff, so we do want to maybe in the future make it Bluetooth or something where we wouldn't need as much wire sticking out.
Awesome, thank you.
So could the team comment a bit about what you learned as you tested the product with, what was her name, Dana?
Yes.
And so what did you learn from her? What did she what were some of the specific things that maybe surprised you? And were you able to test it with anyone else other than Dana?
So we are still trying to get other people to test it with. I feel like the most major things that we learned about was many people who have like this issue, or like they can't like do their daily lives, like they can't drive, they can't like do personal stuff like work, like it makes their life a lot harder than it needs to be for them. So just making like the little things in their daily lives easier would just be awesome.
So I have a question. Just so you're basically looking at a person who has glaucoma and really can't see. Have you thought at all about whether you would could find a way to expand this, I mean, to every person over 40 who uses their phone to try to read labels or something. I mean, someone like me, I mean, I have 20/20 vision, but I can't see anything up close, right? And so I take pictures of things with my camera all the time. And there are times when I'm with one hand and can't do that. I mean, I was doing that the other day with something in my studio. So have you thought about what your market could, trying to expand your market beyond people who have a disability?
Well, yeah, actually, a lot of people who can't even like see close or can't see far, you can use it, and it's very portable for all ages. They can use it because the wristband we can make any size. Really, I just said that. But like it can be used for literally anybody.
20 seconds left. Team looking ahead. All right, I think it's a good time to transition unless there's anything last or anything. Perfect. Okay. So next up is Team Fashion Forward. Whoa, what happened there? We went through quite a few. I don't know how that happened. Let's try this again. Lee, what is going on? Why is everything going crazy?
I tricked you. Just kidding. Hopefully not.
Yeah. Are you playing with it?
Imagine
I don't know.
student,
That's bizarre.
Imagine as a
Okay, here we go. Team Fashion Forward. So Team Fashion Forward from Somers High School, Somers, Connecticut. They created Stitch Zoom. This is a portable camera and monitor that will magnify the image to reduce eye strain and enhance the sewer's experience. Here is their pitch.
My name is Emma, and I'm a member of Team Fashion Forward from Somers High School in Connecticut. My team members are Ben, Jenna, Brianna, and Josh, and we'd like to tell you about Stitch Zoom. Seeing is something we take for granted. We don't think twice about all the steps and parts that need to work properly in order for us to enjoy our favorite hobbies. Our community partner, Dana Gall, is a senior at Somers High School. She is an incredible artist, and she recently completed an independent study in sewing. However, many of the activities she enjoys doing require strong eyesight to see tiny print and intricate details. Dana was diagnosed with congenital glaucoma when she was young, which means the fluid in her eyes doesn't drain properly. Her combined visual acuity is 20/70. She has trouble seeing small objects, including intricate stitches created by a sewing machine. Dana loves sewing and hopes to create a fashion line someday. We wanted to develop something that would help Dana pursue her passion with less strain and fatigue. Dana is not alone with her vision problems. Over 3 million Americans have glaucoma, and according to the CDC, approximately 12 million people over the age of 40 in the United States have a vision impairment. This number is expected to double by the year 2050 due to the rapidly aging U.S. population. Dana's main complaint was eye strain from trying to see the tiny needle and stitches. Another problem she has is that there are things sewers need to do that Dana can't replicate. For example, creating darts and marking tiny pinholes on the fabric. She also suffers from muscle fatigue from hunching over closer to the fabric in the machine. Our camera magnification, touchscreen, and adjustable arm will all help Dana. The camera magnification will reduce eye strain by enlarging the stitch so she doesn't need to strain to see her project. Our touchscreen will let Dana have control over how large the image is and help her see intricate designs. Our adjustable arm will decrease muscle fatigue by allowing her to view her project from multiple angles. Our product has a monitor and camera that can clip onto a sewing machine as well as be attached to a fixed stand. By having a touchscreen with zoom capabilities, Dana would have control over how large the image is. Our third feature is the adjustable arm for the camera. This would allow people to view their project from multiple angles and adjust what they are seeing. The flexibility of the camera, as well as the clip-in stand system, would also allow our product to be used for multiple purposes other than sewing. There are currently many other products on the market. For example, the magnifying glass. It is an affordable option, and many have features such as built-in lights or stands. However, Dana said that the fixed magnification that most glasses have is not large enough for her to see well, and the focal area is too small to be useful. Other competitors have positive features such as magnification, portability, and zooming. However, you will notice that none of these competitors have a large screen, an affordable price, zooming capabilities, and compatibility with the sewing machine. Our goal was to combine all of these products into one, and you will see that Zoom Stitch has those. We would like to market Stitch Zoom for $2.99. The materials make up the bulk of the price, but with help sourcing parts, we think this cost could be lowered, which would increase the markup. Even though the closest competitor was hundreds of dollars more, we wanted to keep the price lower because our goal was to create an affordable product that more people could use. Currently, our design is limited to fixed camera and display. Our next steps would be to complete the coding to give the touchscreen zoom capability and work to create a flexible arm for the camera. For our next iteration, we would like to use smaller, more compact components like the Raspberry Pi 02W to make the design sleeker and less bulky. We would also like the design to be compatible with all types of sewing machines to appeal to a broader market of users. Moving forward, we would like help finalizing our design and testing it with a wider group of users. We want to improve Stitch Zoom's function and form to provide a more enjoyable user experience. Stitch Zoom is a product that would help Dana and the other 42 million people in the United States with visual impairments. It would also allow people to pursue their passion with more enjoyment while also being able to improve their skills. Our lower price point would also make this product more affordable and desirable to crafters who enjoy sewing but find that their vision can't keep up with them. Nobody should be limited because of their vision, and Stitch Zoom would allow people to enjoy their hobbies longer. We are excited to have had the opportunity to work with Dana this year, and we can't wait to see what she creates in the future.
All right, so Team Stitch Zoom, here we go. You guys have 4 minutes for Q&A.
So I'll jump in. Okay, what have you got there in front of you? Do you have it actually? Like, is that gonna show us how close you can see a stitch?
Yeah, so we are planning on, we have it working for this smaller screen, which is obviously going to be attached to the sewing machine. But right now you have our camera, which is on a mount. We forwarded the video to this bigger monitor so you can see it better, but as you can see, it's pretty high refresh rate. We can see inside of here at the sewing machine, and you can see all your, like when you're stitching. So obviously this is not where our camera's going to be, but we moved it over here so that you can see it a little bit better.
And what was her, I mean, did she actually attempt to make some stitches utilizing your prototype?
Not yet, but when she did come in and take a look at our prototype, the thing that she said is that she wanted, and this is what we're working towards right now, she wanted the screen and the camera to be mounted up here so that she could see the stitch in real life and also on the screen.
Okay.
I have a question. I'll be really quick this time. So what, you did a bottoms up that shows, you know, your price of $2.99 that you want to sell this for. Did you do any investigation at all of what the right price point could be for this in the market? I mean, this isn't a critique, but I've worked with lots of companies to start to launch products, and for electronics, something like this, there's a sweet spot of around $99 that if you can be under $99, a lot more people are willing to just fork the money out as opposed to something in the $300 range. If you do a little investigation, you can see that. So the question is, one, what is the target market? Did you do investigation of a target market to see what pricing people would really want to pay for this as opposed to just looking at what your costs are today and trying to figure what we have to do to make a profit?
Well, we originally started off with a lower price, like after we had totaled everything up. And obviously, as you can see, like the materials make up the bulk of it, and they are over the 99 mark. But we met with our pitching coach, and she had suggested actually increasing it so that we could put more profit towards markup to get our product out there.
Yeah, so my question was just, could you down the road find a way to drop those
Absolutely.
prices of materials?
Absolutely. Right now we want to source parts. We want to, there's certain things that we want to do, such as mounting the camera and making things less bulky. So we're still in the trial period, but
once we kind of come up with like new iterations, we would definitely look into lowering the price more.
Okay, very interesting.
How much time do we have left?
50 seconds.
Quick question. So basically you're making a companion product for another machine. So a sewing machine, and like you said, you want to make it so it can work on a bunch of different kinds of sewing machines. Like that's a difficult problem. But just in terms of that, I'm impressed that you actually, here's my question. What skills did your team learn that you didn't have when you started this?
I personally learned a lot of the systems engineering stuff that I used because I was really the head of like the coding and systems and stuff. I learned a lot of stuff about how to how like time complexity of like cameras and all that, so that you can get smooth, clear, high resolution video. And we also learned the challenges of getting parts, because now that we're in like a supply chain shortage, a lot of the parts we couldn't get, like that other Raspberry Pi.
Time's up.
That was
guys.
challenging.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
Sorry to cut you short. Just time's up, trying to be fair for everybody. So, okay, let's move to the next one. Share again. Hopefully it doesn't go haywire on me this time. So we have Team AMP from Freeport High School in Freeport, Connecticut, and they are going to present to you Effortless. It's an attachment for the prosthetic that makes athletics effortless. Here we go.
Salutations, everyone. We are Team AMP. This has a double meaning very close to our heart. It means any means possible. We are here today to help amplify the voices of amputees who need athletic prosthetics. I'm sure you all know a very popular sporting event called the Olympics, with 2,176 people participating, and they've represented over 200 countries. And I'm sure you know a popular sport named basketball, or a series of races called the triathlon, in which 450 million and 4.04 million people have participated. But unfortunately, there are those who lose their limbs and globally, with over 1 million losing their limbs, one every 30 seconds. This has unfortunately hindered them from participating in sports that we usually like to partake in every day, with 60% of lower limb amputees only participating in these activities. And due to their financial difficulties, only 1 in 10 are unable to obtain a prosthetic. But despite all the challenges faced, we have one person who has persevered and has done the impossible, and that's Robert Rodriguez. Despite the hardships that he's faced, Robert enjoys helping others, volunteering his time around the world. He co-founded a company, he was in a Netflix documentary, and he likes playing the same sports that all of us like to play.
Robert Rodriguez has shown us that any means possible. He was born with a birth defect called fibular hemorrhage, which led to the amputation of his right leg. Some of the difference from Robert are that he's a member of the USA Amputee Team Soccer, he's a prosthetic educator, he's an specialized and adapting trainer. But as every amputee, he has challenges. His prosthetic leg sweats a lot, and also when he's playing sports, his prosthetic leg comes loose. So we, the visual artists, we have been working to solve these problems. Our original design was this product with prosthetic leg, but it was too difficult, so we have a hand mold. And later on, we came up with this new prototype, which is an attachment to Robert's prosthetic leg. It allows ventilation, it's durable, flexible, and affordable.
Just like the visual arts team, our research and development team is researching just to see what materials work best for this new idea. So, since there are different materials that we could use and different price ranges, but the problem is if we did use the least expensive one, it would be more suitable for people more people, which can't be translated to people who suffer from limbs. With our, we're more so invested in what our clients students or what MPTs really need in order to be at successful or even more successful than us being part of it. So we will demonstrate also in our actions and habits. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Okay, so, okay, Team AMP, you now have 4 minutes for Q&A.
Hey, Jim, I wanted to just jump in really fast, just
Sure.
because the audio cut out there at the end. Team AMP, would you like to add anything in that maybe the audience wouldn't have heard? I also don't want to put you on the spot too. So it's up to you, and we will give you an extra minute or so to do that if you guys want to. It's up to you though.
So we were just saying before that we wanted to amplify the voices of anyone that is in need of as per our name. You guys turn that down, please. Okay, thanks. So we find that it's more so with other companies, it's more so just the money and get the product out and not necessarily hearing the criticisms of our audience. So like us, we talked hand in hand with Robert, asking him what could we do to fix it, what did he think would be better, and we got a lot of feedback from him. So that was just something that we wanted to add.
Thank you. Team AMP, and one quick question just for sound purposes, and thank you so much for letting me do this with you live, but are you all in one space on different laptops right now? If you want, this is just a thought. This is just a suggestion. You don't have to do it. What you can do is get together with one laptop, and just as the judges call on you, you can move forward closer to the laptop. That way we won't hear that background reverb. So it's totally up to you. If you want to keep doing what you're doing, it's fine, but you do have the option to all move onto one device. And when someone divvies the question out to you, you can just pass the laptop to the person, and that way it's right in front of you as you're answering. Do you want to try that out or stay as is?
We could try it out.
Okay, we'll give you guys just a second to get ready.
Yeah, let me know, Lee, when you want to do the timer, and I'll go with the 4 minutes from there.
Yeah, hold the time. Yeah, and I'll let you know,
we're good.
Jim.
We're good.
Thank you. All right, viewers, I hope you've been enjoying all these wonderful pitches. The students have been doing such a phenomenal job. It's been incredible to hear how every single team has been incorporating their community partner into their journey throughout the year, and what a central part their community partner has played in their journey. So excited to continue hearing AMP echo that throughout their pitch too. All right, so as they're getting situated, we will be adding in the judges, and Freeport is in New York. There was a little typo on that last slide. Hopefully you saw it correct in the first one.
I'm sorry, I only read what was given to me on the slide. So.
Oh no, Jim, that was on me. I just saw LaShonda make sure to say it, and I was like, oh, let me correct myself. All right, so I'll start adding the judges in, and I'll give a countdown in a moment and we'll get started, but I'll just get the judges spotlighted. So bear with me a second. All right, Team AMP, if you could just give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Awesome. All right, judges.
Okay, 4 minutes.
Great. So Team AMP, can you give me sort of, it was a little hard to hear during the video, but what, I heard that one of the key problems you were solving for was sweat. Did I hear that right? Okay, cool. Can you tell me what were some of the other problems that you encountered beyond sweat to help these athletes perform, to the level they wish to perform? What were some of the other things you learned? I think you guys can't hear you.
Can you hear me? I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
really quiet.
Very quietly.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's the sound on here.
Davina, we could kind of hear you. If you could just project as loudly as you can, we'll figure it out. Thank you so much for bearing with us. I know this can be like quite the journey when you're trying to get your sound set up on Zoom.
But unmute so they can
Is
hear.
this better?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, great. So a lot of things we typically overlook as able-bodied people is the fact that we need flexibility. And of course, with something that's plastic or something that's more of a harder material, there's not much wiggle room to use. So we thought that we could have something that's more, of course, flexible, something that can help people move around. So that was why we went for I'm sure you have known the product ShamWow. The material is using rayon and polypropylene. So those are the two materials we decided to opt for. And that was something that we thought was lightweight, which is needed when you're using prosthetics, and then also something that was absorbent.
Thank you.
I'm happy to ask a question. Timothy, you mind? I'll jump in. I love the beginning of the presentation with all of the facts. Like, it's almost like overwhelming. I wish it wasn't in the video because I'd go back and kind of digest a few of those. My question is, there's so many problems to overcome when you're working with somebody with basically a physical constraint. And when you're working with the soccer, like with the leg, did you see when you're thinking about this that it could actually be applied to other kinds of, like maybe it's an arm or fingers, or were you specifically looking at the leg? Like, you know what I mean?
Are we on mute?
We're on meeting.
Okay, sorry. So our community partner has the bottom half of his right leg cut off. So I feel like we started there. And once we came up with an idea, we found out that it was applicable to other kinds of amputees. So whether it's the bottom half of your arm from like your elbow down is missing, or if your entire leg is missing, it's something that's applicable to not just below the knee amputees. It's applicable to all types of amputations.
Awesome, great. Thank you.
I have about a minute and a half, minute 20 seconds left.
Okay, so I asked the question. So when you were looking at various subjects, did you find a big variance in the type of things that they thought were necessary? So how did you get your inputs into what were some of the challenges they would need in terms of addressing usability of their prosthetics?
You guys want to answer?
Sorry, can you say that again?
I said, did you talk to different numbers of people? And if so, did you find a variety of things that the subjects thought they needed to do to have their prosthetics to be used? I'm curious how you came up with sweat and how you came up with some of the issues that were addressed.
So our community partner, thankfully, he actually works in a company that specializes with amputees. He's actually one of the co-owners of it. So we were able to get into contact with learning how different amputees, their different issues and what could be fixed and what could be handled. So that was one way. And we also got to be having a hands-on experience with some of the real amputees that were less costly and then more costly.
Sorry, guys, I hate having to do that and put the hard time on people, but move on to the next one. We have Athens Drive Magnet School. Give me 1 second to pull it up here. And this is Team Siphon from Athens Drive Magnet in Raleigh, North Carolina. Siphon is an automated machine that identifies temperature, humidity, and sound to activate trach suctioning process. Here is their pitch.
Hey guys, I'm Sam and I'm the team lead for Siphon here at Athens Drive. Okay. Is it good? Is it Ryan? It's good now. Okay. Hi, I'm Kate and I work with the design.
My name is Brandon and I'm a programmer for my project event team at Athens Drive.
Hey, I'm Eli. I do 3D design and prototyping.
This is our client, Sol. His son, Libel, was diagnosed with microcephaly at a very young age. He was then later diagnosed with cerebral palsy and scoliosis, making him entirely bedridden and immobile on his own. Because of this, Sol is having to take constant care of him, especially monitoring his throat. Libel has a trach tube down his throat, which allows him to breathe. But with this, mucus accumulation occurs, especially according to the humidity and temperature of his room.
With this constant mucus accumulation, Sol has to suction his son's throat regularly, which leads to little to no sleep every night.
How many hours of sleep did you get last night? I got 4, and I'm barely even awake right now. Sol got an average of 3.5 hours of interrupted sleep, due to have to constantly suction Libel and the mucus that accumulates in his throat. To try and solve this sleep problem, we came up with a diffuser-like innovation. The idea was that it would release calming scents and help relax Sol. After further thought, though, we decided to pivot.
So since humidity is really important to Libel's mucus production, we decided that our plant would be able to detect these changes of humidity and temperature and change the air around it. But we eventually realized, of course, there's like hundreds of thousands of different AC units all around the world, and that's just not something we would be able to control. So we realized that these weren't things that we could control, and that's where we decided to pivot.
And that's where Siphon comes in. Siphon is an automatic suction machine we created at Athens Drive. Siphon uses temperature, humidity, and sound to accurately pinpoint whenever a patient's trach tube needs to be started.
On the right, you have your motion controller connected to the stepper motor on top of the patient's chest. The catheter is inserted into the trach, this white plastic piece, and the suction machine on the bottom left is what actually suctions the mucus out of a patient's throat.
So this is your pricing chart. It's about which inserts the catheter, and the Raspberry Pi, which runs your code. You also have your SD card, which holds your code, your sound sensor for the kill switch we talked about earlier, and lastly, you have your DHT22 sensor, which is your temperature and humidity sensor for about 730. Now you may be wondering, has any other innovation been created similar to ours? And the answer is yes, but also no. To start off, we have the common manual suction machine. This is what you will find in every hospital and is obtainable for home health care. Unlike Siphon, it is very time-consuming and always needs manual help from someone. After more research, we found 2 other automated suction machines. One, known as the Japanese TMV, has not yet been used in any hospitals or real medical aid. It also focuses on a different form of suctioning, not the same kind needed to help with microcephaly. The other innovation is the Cymax. Similar to the Japanese TMV, it is based outside of the US and has not been professionally used. Cymax is also more for closed ventilation, while Siphon focuses more on open ventilation patients. Overall, we have not been able to find a product that meets the needs that our client is looking for. So you've heard about Siphon, and you've heard about how entirely unique it is compared to other products, and you've also heard about our reasonable budgeting system. It sounds great, right? But wait, it gets even better. We talked earlier about how Sol and Libel were getting little to no rest, and this is something we've tried to improve with Siphon. So healthcare workers all around the world are going through this normal handheld suctioning process, and we've tried to eliminate that by automating the suctioning process, and we're hoping to implement this in healthcare, but to do that we need your help.
All right, thank you, Team Siphon. You now have 4 minutes.
I have a quick clarifying question. Is this for home use or for hospital? I didn't quite.
This is actually both.
Both, okay.
That's something we plan to do in the future, but we haven't gotten there yet because there's still so much more that we could do.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, I was fascinated. How did you come to the understanding of solving for Saul's sleep problem?
So we originally interviewed him back in like early October. And so that's when we learned how he had all these issues with sleeping and he's having to constantly get up and suction Libel, his son. And that's when we learned that he had all these sleeping issues.
It's a really fascinating pathway in to solving a problem that's actually for, there's the interesting dynamic between the caretaker and the care receiver. And I just find it really interesting that one of the things you were looking to solve was for that, to help the caretaker, right, maintain their ability to do their job. So were there other issues that you encountered with, if you took this approach and actually got to play it out, would there be ancillary or perhaps even larger benefits for the patient in addition to the caretaker? Not that you all are doctors, but maybe some of your advisors may have given you some insight on that.
So we did talk to a couple of medical professionals like ENT workers and hospital workers, and we did find out that it would help increase the independence of the patient as well as the worker, as I said earlier in the video. So the workers would be able to have more time to focus on patients who may have more important needs, and Siphon would be able to, just do its work on like a regular basis.
Thank you. Mike, Tim?
So no other questions. I guess we'll continue on, although you guys said you have a minute 30. So nope. Okay.
No questions here. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay.
Bye.
All right. We will move on to the next one. So this is the second team from Athens Drive Magnet, and we've got Raleigh, North Carolina again. And this is Team Ephemeral. Ephemeral is an automated herbicide sprayer, and here is their pitch.
Found in many forests across the northeastern USA, lurking like a plague ready to strike, is a small, unassuming plant called microstetium. This invasive species is actually an ecological collapse waiting to happen. It buries its seeds deep underground, and when the time is right, they burst onto the surface, covering it in a green tide. This green tide is almost impossible to stop, requiring constant maintenance, and those who fight against it are left foundering in its wake. And it's not just microstetium either. The American Southeast is held in a stranglehold by kudzu, and the Midwest is held in the thorny grip of tumbleweed. There is, however, a ray of hope. Our project, the Ephemeral, is an automated herbicide sprayer that is easy to install and easy to use. Once it's installed in the location, it provides constant protection by spraying the surrounding area with targeted herbicides that kill invasive species but leave surrounding flora and fauna undamaged. The Ephemeral comes equipped with a variety of features. The first off is a sign that you can customize to your liking with just about any message, such as telling people to stay on the trails in your state park. The pole, which we optimized for ideal spray radius through rigorous testing, has a tube that runs through it to access the fluid reserves in the bucket below the ground, which provides stability. The waterproof solar panel up top doubles as a roof to protect the electronics from rain, and the electronics tell the pump to pump at set intervals during the night through the dispersion tubes to protect the surrounding environment.
Here you see us demonstrate how to reset the spray count. After holding the button for 10 seconds, the spray count will reset to the max number of sprays that has been programmed. As you can see, the setup process for the ephemeral has finished and is now ready to begin dispersing herbicides.
Our ephemeral, when compared to many different competitors, has many advantages, such as being capable of operating in remote areas, such as a forest. It also is very labor efficient, requiring minimal work to set up, and since it's autonomous, it requires minimal work to operate. It also is very power efficient because it relies on a solar panel and a battery instead of a direct connection to a power source. In the future, we plan to add a camera and app support. The app would be used to monitor the surrounding area, and it would connect to the camera, so you could monitor the ephemeral. The ephemeral would cost a total of $312, mostly in part to the solar panel and overhead. However, that price would most likely be greatly reduced in the future due to mass production and buying things in bulk. All in all, we would need $10,000 to really get this project going. $7,000 of that would go towards a patent, $1,500 of that would go towards mass production, $1,000 of that would go towards marketing and sales, and $500 of that would go towards development of our project. By investing in ephemeral, you're investing in healthier ecosystems and a better future. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Team Ephemeral. You have 4 minutes for Q&A.
Don't make sound.
All right, I'll go ahead and go. Hey, team, is it ephemeral? Ephemeral? Okay. You closed your pitch by saying that it was that this would, address some, make dealing with invasive species a little more healthy, a little better for the environment. However, I wasn't clear on how you were solving for that. What I was understanding is that the primary advantage was around labor saving, that it could be used on a remote basis and things like that. So talk to me a little bit about these other advantages that you mentioned at the very end of your pitch.
So our community partner was a park ranger named Kevin Pittman, and Kevin's main, the issue with it was not that he couldn't deal with the invasives, but he just didn't have enough time. If he had time, he could, but the fact that our ephemeral is remote operated, basically it works on his own and he doesn't have to do anything, makes it much more effective since he wouldn't be effective on his own.
They're also severely understaffed there. I think they have 4 park rangers. One of those is part-time over an enormous tract of land.
Got it. Thanks. So, it's the fact that nothing's really happening because they don't have any time to do this because they're so stretched.
Yeah.
So, got it.
And also, it's expanding. Over the course of our project, it went from 14 acres to 16 in just a few months. So the longer you wait, the worse it gets.
Got it. No, I'm sure.
I have a statement more than a question, so bear with me because I just want to point this out, is that, correct me if I'm wrong and I heard this wrong, but basically your product has not only a roof that is really solar panels, so the roof is acting as 2 things. Your sign is weighted by the fluid in the base, so the fluid is actually weighting, holding up the post, and then you can actually do custom signs because you can swap them out. So that the use of efficiency and materials and structure, good job. I like seeing that as it's efficient, it's a small footprint, and you're thinking multiple uses for the same kind of structures. So
I didn't know that was a misconception that you had, but the fluid container would be underground.
Yeah, and that's helping hold the post up. Yeah, cool. No question, just like I said, statement.
Thank you.
So is my microphone on? Yeah. So I have a question related to intellectual property. You talked about patenting, and I'm always curious why people choose a patent route as opposed to just making your product, trying to enter the market, because patents are hard to enforce and hard to sue after someone. But you can trademark things, you can copyright things, you can just launch them into market. Can you give me a little bit of detail of what made you decide you wanted to patent this and how you would try to enforce that?
So we were pretty worried about, because we're a small group, we're a bunch of teenagers, and we didn't want some giga corporation to look at us and see what we've done and then take it for themselves, because that's not fair. We've done all the work. So we just want to make sure we get credit for our idea and can put our product on the market ourselves.
Okay. My point of my question though was there's different ways to protect your product. There's copywriting, there's patenting, there's other things, and I guess I would just make a statement that you might want to look at different things because they cost different amounts of money from a legal standpoint.
So honestly, I think new invention, the first protect my intellectual property thing that comes to mind, and the one I'm most familiar with is actually patenting. So
yeah,
this seems kind of a natural choice.
Yeah, I'm not trying to debate that, right? That's I'm just curious why you would done that
Yeah.
path. Provisional patent are another way you can go as well.
It's not a super firm thing. If there's a better option, we'll switch to a better option. That's not really our main focus, you know.
Okay.
That
All right,
brings
guys,
up
I'm
one-
gonna.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. We're at time.
Yeah, we're about 5 minutes now.
Okay.
We're gonna say wrap it up, but that's okay. Yep. Although I've learned a new word, giga corporation. So thank you guys for that. I'm going to use that from now on. I like that a lot. I'll be sure to credit Team Ephemeral with that one as well. So, all right. At this point, let me go ahead and share the screen with you. We are done the pitches. So I would like to introduce to you our keynote speaker. This is Ayanna Klein. She is the co-founder of 3 Ducks Design. And Ayanna designed 3 Ducks with a mission to foster STEM learning through art, design, and creative thinking. 3 Ducks Design is now used in over 1,000 schools, after-school programs, maker spaces, and children's museums in more than 15 different countries. Ayanna is working on developing, along with her brother, who is also in the company. They're looking to develop 3 Ducks University with an aim to connecting young students and encouraging real-world problem solving. Ayanna is currently a senior at Washington University in St. Louis. Please welcome Ayanna. Ayanna, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thanks for the introduction. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yeah, sure. Let me quit out of here so you can do that. Awesome. There you go.
Can everybody see this?
Yeah, and Ayanna, I'm sorry, let me back up. I think I skipped the fact that the judges should be going to their breakout room. I apologize.
Yeah,
So
no
yeah, judges, please go ahead and go to your breakout room and deliberate while Ayanna presents.
Awesome. Okay, let me just move this over. Okay, does the screen look good to everybody?
Yes, thank you, Ayanna.
Awesome. So my name is Ayanna Klein, and I am the founder of 3 Ducks Design. I'm currently a senior in college at Washington University in St. Louis, but I started my company with my younger brother, Ethan, when we were both high school students. So I'm just going to take you quickly through our story. So my brother and I have been building with cardboard ever since we were little kids. We love to build anything that we could imagine. We would build forts, castles, parking garages, doll houses, and we also love to incorporate moving parts like pulleys, elevators, and ramps in all of our creations. At the beginning, we really just thought we were having fun, and what we didn't know is that we were actually learning in the process. We were learning the basic concepts of physics and geometry. So later on, so I just have a quick question for all of you guys. Raise your hand if you ever felt like this kid on the screen at some point in school. Yeah, I'm sure a ton of you did. So me too. When I was little, I felt like this all the time, especially when I was learning subjects like math, like addition and subtraction, because I struggled to understand how learning numbers on a piece of paper had any real world application. And I remember asking myself if I was ever going to use what I was learning in real life. So what I found from this is that a lot of times learning in the classroom is uninspiring and kind of just boring. So later on, a few years later in high school, I took an architecture course. in one summer. And during this course, I got to make 3D models where I got to actually use my imagination and creativity. And I still learned a lot at the same time. So it was during this course that I actually learned that like school could be a lot more engaging and fun through hands-on activities rather than just learning through textbooks. So at this time, I decided that I wanted to help other students gain this educational value. So I decided to take action. So Ethan and I launched 3 Ducks Design, where we have a vision to inspire the learner and creator in every child. So drawing from our experience playing with cardboard when we were kids, we designed a modeling system that is cost effective, requires no internet or even a charger, and makes use of the most ubiquitous, free, and sustainable material in the world, the cardboard box. So what exactly is 3 Ducks Design? It's an architecture modeling system made of a series of 6 uniquely shaped connectors that are engineered to transform ordinary cardboard into a perfect tool for STEM learning. So how our product works is basically you take the connectors and you attach them or slide them onto a piece of cardboard. We have our own pre-cut cardboard that comes with our kits, or you can use recycled Amazon or boxes like Amazon boxes, and you connect the pieces together to make something fun. And once you finish building your product, you can take it apart, you can keep it together, you can build something else. So we saw how much kids love this and decided to try and make a global impact. So we work with schools right now in 15 different countries. For example, we work with students in Benin, Costa Rica, Thailand, and Kenya, along with a bunch of other students who have already shared a bunch of their stories on our website with our global community of change makers. So that's a little bit about our company, excuse me. But I can tell you that while starting a company is really fun and it's a great experience, as I'm sure you guys know, it's also, and it's really rewarding, it's not all fun and games. And there's always going to be challenges and pivots that you need to learn to make and overcome. So today I'm going to share with you a few different points that I've learned, but the main takeaway, so through all of this, is to never give up on your dreams. But with that, I'm going to share 4 points to keep in mind when you guys start a company, or even not starting a company, but just great life skills in general. So the first point I have is passion, curiosity, and vision. So I think it's really important to find something that you're truly passionate about and take some ideas and explore and ask yourself, and you can start by asking yourself some thought-provoking questions. For example, do you have any recurring problems in your life that you think you could fix? You can also think about what keeps you up at night, like what's really cool to you. And once you've found some ideas that you're passionate about and things that inspire you, you can start thinking of some possible solutions and create a vision of what you want to build. So an example for me working at 3 Ducks, as I mentioned earlier, when I was younger, I found a lot of school lessons to be pretty boring and uninspiring. And I didn't really understand how what I was learning applied to the real world. I hated learning and memorizing dates of historical events, and I didn't really know how adding and subtracting simple numbers would have any use later in life, even though it's one of the most important skills that I now know. So as I went through high school, I learned new ways of hands-on learning, and I became really passionate about changing early education, which is where I came up with the idea for 3 Ducks Design, because I wanted all students everywhere to have the opportunity to explore their unique and individual ideas while also learning important skills at the same time. So as I got older, I found my love for curiosity for architecture through like designing homes and schools and other buildings. And while I decided I didn't necessarily want to be an architect, I used these ideas to develop my vision for 3 Ducks. And over time, this passion and curiosity and vision became more focused. And that's when I worked with my brother Ethan to actually go forward with 3 Ducks. And over those last 4 years since starting the company, I've definitely become even more passionate about early education and supporting young students around the world. So my advice on this point to conclude this is when you find something that you're really passionate about, play around with some ideas, come up with a vision on how to make your invention into reality. And once you have a few of these ideas in mind, then go for it and make your ideas something real. And part of the reason I think this is important is because of the second point I'm about to bring up, which is resilience. So coming up with an idea is honestly one of the easier parts. And once you have your invention idea, I can tell you, as I'm sure you guys have already experienced, you're going to face a ton of challenges and failures along the way. But this is really important because these hardships are unfortunately a part of life, and we don't learn unless we make mistakes along the way. So a couple of pointers here. First of all, there's no correct or incorrect way to invent something or start a company. A lot of it is trial and error, and you have to go through a lot of iterations, like design thinking processes and prototyping over and over again before you find your final product. So you're not going to get it right on the first try, but it's important to never give up and to believe in yourself. Another idea here is that not everyone is going to give you positive feedback. You're going to encounter a ton of people who might say that your idea is dumb, maybe it won't work, or they've seen it before. But if you believe in your idea and you're passionate about it, and you take what the people say that are negatives and turn them into positives, not only will you become stronger, but you'll also make your idea even better. So I can give you an example that I've experienced with Three Ducks. So for example, on the screen here is our connectors, and designing these connectors took a lot of tries. You had to figure out how to make sure the connectors fit onto the cardboard. At first, a lot of people said, oh, they're too tight, they don't fit well, they fall off, or your product isn't going to work, the cardboard's too flimsy. We also needed to, at the same time, test the connectors with engineers to make sure that they're safe. So in case a kid were to eat a piece, that they wouldn't be poisoned by it, making sure the materials were all good. Another hard thing here was designing the kits. We had to figure out how many different kits to design, also how to package them was important, because we needed to make sure that that's cost effective, because shipping can be really expensive. And at the same time, we also wanted to make sure we met the needs of all of our customers. So families, schools, students, after school programs. So in conclusion here, it's really important to take constructive criticism, and it might not all be fun, but you need to realize that a lot of these people who maybe come off a little bit negative are probably just trying to help you in the end and make your idea even better. So it can be exhausting to keep up with this, to keep changing your idea around, to keep failing. Sometimes it's kind of hard, but if you're really passionate about your idea, you'll be able to get back up, keep going, and you'll come back harder and stronger than before. So my third point is networking, and networking means talking to other people and hearing about their ideas and letting them hear about your ideas. And this is one of the most important points, I think, as well, and something that I didn't really realize was so important when I first started Three Ducks. So just to start off on this point, this is definitely something that can be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but with time you'll get used to it and it will become easier. And it's also a great skill for later in life, especially as you get older. So building connections when you're starting a company is extremely important, because you never know when you'll meet someone who can help you in the future. And maybe they won't be a specific help right away, but they might be really helpful later in life, or they might be able to connect you with one of their friends or one of their partners who are very helpful to you or your invention. And also it's kind of cool because you'll be surprised as to how small the world is, because sometimes you meet people, this has happened to me, and they'll know someone that you know, and that's always really cool experience when that happens. So an example that I have when I work with Three Ducks, when I was little, probably younger than most of you guys, I was very shy, and this was an ongoing challenge for me because I didn't really like talking to people I didn't know, especially adults who are like 20 or 30 years older than me, who have had a lot of experience in the business world. I didn't really know how to communicate with them. I didn't know what industries they were working in, and this was always a challenge. So over time, though, I worked on my networking skills. I went to a lot of events. I pitched at a lot of different events like what you guys are doing today. And I started to learn about how to tell my story and how to explain Three Ducks design. And at the same time, I also got to learn about a lot of other really cool companies and learn what other people are passionate about. And this was a great experience because not only did I get to expand my network of people, but I also got to learn about a lot of different ways of being an entrepreneur. I learned some really cool industries, some ideas and products, and I also met a lot of cool people that I still keep in touch with today. And a lot of these people that I still keep in touch with have offered me really cool opportunities that I never would have otherwise been granted. So one more point on networking is, or 2 points actually. The first one is that if you ever meet someone who's really interesting or could be a useful resource later in life, you should definitely start by getting their contact information and reach out to them maybe email them a day or two after you meet them, because that will help them remember you. And then later on, maybe a year or two down the line, if you ever want to chat with them again or connect with them, you can do that, and they'll probably maybe remember you or have your email saved. Another point on networking is a lot of times people will offer you some really cool opportunities. And while they might not be of direct help immediately, you should always say yes to these opportunities. And that's something that my parents always told me, is to always say yes, because even if nothing necessarily comes out of the experience, it's a learning moment, and you might not know who might be at that same event that you're going to, or that same opportunity that you can connect with there. So networking is very important. So my last point is ambition. So you should never give up on your hopes and dreams. It's really important that you guys all believe in yourself and be passionate about your idea. And if you're really passionate about something, like bringing me back to the first point I said, you won't let anything stop you, because you love your idea and you think it'll work. And you're going to fail at some point, but that's good. Failure is good, and you get to learn from your mistakes, and you have to keep your head up and keep going. And it'll be hard at first, but it will keep getting easier over time. And it's always a great experience to learn and come back better. So there's been a bunch of different times with 3 Ducks that I failed. Even in life, I've definitely failed some tests and exams, but I never gave up, and that's why I am where I am today. And I'm at a great school. I have a great support system of friends and families, as I'm sure a lot of you guys have. And I'm running a successful company, and it's awesome. So, and I get to work with awesome students like you guys every day, which is really exciting. So that brings me to the conclusion. And while I believe a lot of the points I talked to you about today are really important, so just to go over the 4 ideas I talked about, the first one was passion, curiosity, and vision. The second one was resilience, then networking, and then ambition. The main thing I want you to keep in mind is to be proud of yourself and to keep going no matter what. It's going to be hard, as I said a million times, but it's very rewarding in the end. So thank you guys for listening. You all had great presentations today. I don't know if we have any more time, but if we do, I'm happy to answer a couple of questions.
Hey, Ayana, I had a question for you. This is Lee. You may have already mentioned this earlier, but where would we be able to see 3 Ducks if we were out and about? Where would we get to see it in action?
Yeah, so we have our website, but that's online. We work with a couple of stores. We sell our product on Amazon. We sell a lot at events. We work at a lot of expos, so those are events that thousands of people will go to, especially like they're more specialized, like teachers will go to them, after school programs. And then I'm also working with schools around the world. So I don't know if any of your schools have 3 Ducks, but if not, definitely tell your teachers about it, because it's a fun product. But yeah.
And you guys offer workshops too for elementary teachers, is that correct?
Yeah, so we have a bunch of different workshops. We also have a bunch of lesson plans and curriculum online. And we also we run a couple of programs for kids as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I got to see a 3 Ducks kit not too long ago, right before we had you on. So very exciting. Students, do you have any questions for Ayana? She is a young founder, just like all of you, and I'm sure that she'd be happy to answer any questions. We have a couple of minutes that we can use for that. If you have a question, go ahead and unmute. You don't even have to raise your hand since we're a smaller group.
I have a question. What were some struggles you had as you proposed your market as you proposed your product into the market, like considering there were other competitors?
Yeah, so with competitors, that's a good question. One of the things that we do, so we're patent pending right now. We had to make sure that our product was different than other products out there. So we had to do a lot of research on that, make sure nothing exactly like 3 Ducks has ever been made before. And then one of the main things that we do is we have pretty good relationships with everybody that we work with. So we keep in contact with all the teachers and all of our families. And they love our story. They love how my brother and I started it as young founders, which is something that all of you guys also have. And because of that, if we never did get a patent and someday some other big company tried to copy us, they wouldn't necessarily have the same relationships that we do with our teachers, and they don't work with them the same way that we do. So that also is something that separates us from bigger companies.
Thank you for that question. That was a great one.
Mm-hmm.
Would love a few more if we have a little bit of time, so I think it's a perfect time to ask.
Anna, I'm going to ask you a question if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure. What is the single biggest struggle that you had to overcome in starting your company?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I think the biggest struggle was probably, I guess in the beginning was making the actual product, figuring out how to make it, who to make it with, raising money for it as well. We wound up running a Kickstarter campaign. With the money for that, we got to where we produced or working with other production managers or companies to help make our products, because they were all the connectors were originally 3D printed, and ultimately 3D printers aren't meant for mass production. They break down a lot. We had, I think, like 7 3D printers in our dining room running 24 hours a day. So we would come home from school, or my dad would come home from work already stressed out, having a long days, and 3 of the 7 3D printers would have messed up, and that would have cost us like half of our product for like a week. So that was also pretty challenging. Also the turnaround time from when we really got the product, went from idea to actual launch within about 2.5 months during a summer. So that was pretty hard. And I think if I did it again, I probably would have taken a little bit more time to think out a whole strategy and way to do it instead of rushing it. But yeah, those are probably some of the biggest challenges. Another challenge also is probably coming to college and starting a much harder school and running a company at the same time, and managing both of those at the same time. Luckily, it wasn't just me, and I had my brother and my mom helping as well. But that was also probably a challenge, a pretty big challenge.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question. Students would love to hear from you all, especially as you're at this point where you're nearing the end of this year, academic wise, but definitely not the end of your invention journey. Just a stepping stone, just a part.
Ayana, what are you studying in school? What are you studying at college?
Yeah, I'm in the business school, and I have a major in entrepreneurship, and then I'm minoring in architecture.
Awesome. Well, Ayana, thank you so much. We loved having you and appreciate you joining and sharing about 3 Ducks with us. It's such an inspiring journey that you and your family have been on, and especially you and your brother as young founders. And we love to celebrate young founders. They're a big part of what Project Invent is, and a huge part of today. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you all, you guys, for listening.
Yeah.
I'd like to just echo the thank you again. It's really inspiring to hear young people doing this kind of work, Ayana. So thank you for taking your time to share with us today. And I also have some toddler kids that are family members that would love to play with this. So I think I'll be buying some soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Lee, are we good to share the screen again and keep going?
We sure are. You know, Jim, for this part, as the students are reflecting, you can stop screen sharing however you'd like to do it, since we'll just be doing the asking the question, and I'll be adding their spotlights in.
Oh, okay. So we'll just skip the screen sharing then altogether, and we can just go right to the next discussion. So at this point, folks, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of reflection and think about the experience that we've had over this past year. And so we're going to ask you 2 or 3 questions, and depending upon time, Leah will help me out here with the timing and figuring things out. But we would like to ask you the following, okay? 1, what was a significant challenge that you experienced while designing your product? 2, what helped you remain resilient, or what motivated you when you experienced those challenges? And then 3, what was a highlight of this year? What would you say was the biggest highlight? Okay. And so if you needed some reminders, I can gladly go ahead and do that. But Team Lady Lions, let's hear from you. We'd love to learn more about your year with Project Invent. So 1, what was a significant challenge that you experienced while designing the product?
So I can address this question. A problem that we faced was learning how to do the technical aspect of the prototype. So originally we did not know how to use an Arduino or know much about a breadboard or circuitry or wiring. And that's something that we had to overcome as a team, and that obstacle together. And we asked a lot of our teachers for guidance. We asked a lot of older students for help who are seniors to kind of guide us in the correct direction. And then we also used the internet as an online resource to also help. So a combination of all these factors helped us kind of overcome that. And I'm definitely grateful that I went through this experience, because otherwise I probably would not know how to do all the things that I can do now.
Awesome, thanks, Shreya. So 2 then, what helped you remain resilient, or what motivated you when you experienced these challenges?
I can answer this question. So a great motivator was our community partner. So Nadine, who is here as an attendee today, thank you, Nadine, for coming. It's been an amazing opportunity to work with them, because not only do they provide such great feedback that has helped us so much with our prototype and developing it, but we've also gotten this great connection with our 2 partners, which is Chloe and Darlene. And overall, it's just been a great experience, because the first time we ever made our prototype, it wasn't functioning the way we initially wanted it to. And that's really frustrating as young inventors, because we want to show our work to our community partners and show our effort, but it really was hard for us when the prototype overall wasn't working. So I would say our community partner was a great source of hope and inspiration from us. And Mr. Hausman, you too, guiding us in the right direction every single day. It's been a pleasure working every single time after school. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sejal. Likewise, appreciate that. All right, Sadie, I'm going to ask this last question of you then. What's the highlight of the year so far? What has been the thing that's the biggest takeaway in terms of joy?
I think the highlight for this journey has definitely been when we were able to show our product to our community partners, to have a prototype and to be able to have our community partners use it and see the reactions, see how happy it made them and how it empowered them, just giving them the ability to use makeup and do something that they weren't able to do before. I think it was very inspiring to see that and to know that we designed a product that that helped them. It was definitely the highlight of our journey, and it made it all worth it.
Very cool, thank you. All right, team looking ahead, tell us a little bit about a significant challenge that you experienced while designing your product.
Our most challenging thing was definitely the technology. We were all kind of started this just for the business side. And then when we figured out that we needed technology, we did kind of panic, but we did find we did find a way to do it. We looked up ways, we found people who could help us, and we did learn about it. And it was actually really fun, so.
Awesome. So second question, what helped you stay resilient, or what motivated you while you were experiencing some of these challenges?
So one of our biggest motivations was Dana and her coming in and talking to us about what she thought would be the best improvements, because the whole glove idea was her thoughts and what she wanted, and we probably wouldn't even have gotten this far
without her like pushing us forward and helping us. About Dana as well, I think it's really important because something that's different about us is that the three of us are seniors and she is as well. So we've really grown up with her and we've seen her grow with this disease. So I think to be able to like kind of give her an aid in helping her, like even in the future in college and her job, I think that was really meaningful to us.
All right, and share with us one highlight from the year. What's the biggest thing?
I think our biggest highlight was that it kind of goes with the challenge about how technology was not our thing. I think actually getting our thing working, like I remember that day and we were all so proud because we had gotten like so much feedback from different people. And when it had finally come together and worked, it was just a really good moment.
Yeah, I tell my kids all the time, that's like that Christmas morning feeling. When you finally get it to work, it's like getting that gift when you're 5 years old and you're just like, so much.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, it's an awesome moment. Thank you. All right, Team Fashion Forward, tell us about a significant challenge that you experienced throughout this year.
So the biggest challenge that we really faced this year was it was kind of just like getting everything to work because we experienced so many like different little problems that we had. So our first problem was we had an issue with our screens where they wouldn't work, and then we accidentally bought a camera lens that didn't work with the setup that we were using because its focal length was too big. So there was just like a bunch of little tiny problems that kind of just like slowed us down. But that was kind of our biggest problem, was just like all the technical stuff.
All right, so talk to me a little bit about what helped you stay resilient or what motivated you when you were going through these challenges.
So like as we were working and building our product, we would kind of show Dana like along the way so she could help give us advice and like what we could improve on and what she liked. But honestly, I loved like working with her because it was just really nice to know that like because she's going to college next year. So just to kind of give her something that she can take with her to help make her life easier. And this is like something that she really enjoys and we know that would really help her. And it was also really nice like working with the team because we all, kind of put our heads together and use our strengths to really build our product.
Awesome. What's been a highlight of the journey?
So one of the biggest highlights, I know for me and probably for the team, is after all these months of like research and development of just like looking at what we could do to make it better and just really building the product and doing all the code and systems engineering and stuff, was seeing it work. So like seeing it run for the first time and actually displaying our video and being able to like interact, that was just really rewarding for us.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. All right, Team AMP. Tell me a little bit about a significant challenge that you guys experienced this year while you were designing.
A significant challenge that we experienced this year was deciding what our design was, because originally we were trying to design an entire prosthetic from the knee down, and then we had to scrap that because it was a lot of work and a lot of hours that we would have to put in to try and get the entire thing to work. It would have been really complex. And then we had a challenge that we had to face was either we did one part of the leg, like the foot, or if we did like a coupling part of the top of the prosthetic instead. And that is the challenge that we faced.
Awesome. So how did you guys stay resilient, or what motivated you while you were going through the difficulties that you experienced?
One of the main things that motivated us to remain motivated throughout this process is our community partner, Robert. His story inspired us so much because when we thought the amount of hardships that he went through growing up, we kind of just didn't want the same thing to happen to other amputees. And another big help was our advisor, Ms. Garnhire, for motivating us to do our best and be our best. Overall, we're just grateful to take part in the opportunity and present something that could make a change in people's lives.
Awesome. Tell me a highlight of the year.
So COVID's been really bad in our area. So I think because we've been meeting with our community partner over Zoom like we are now. So I think when we finally got to meet with him in person and like actually talk to him and hear his experience face to face was definitely our greatest moment so far in the year.
Awesome. Thank you, Team AMP. Appreciate it. All right, Team Siphon. So tell me a little bit about some kind of challenge that you guys experienced while designing your product.
So definitely one of our main challenges was during our research stage when we were researching the condition of microcephaly because it's quite the rare disease. So we ended up getting most of our information from our client.
What helped you guys stay resilient or stay motivated throughout the
Our
challenge?
teacher, Miss Luna, she gave us she was less of like a friend and more of a mentor. She kind of told us like the real side of it. She didn't try to sugarcoat it, which really helped us in the long run.
But what you mean by didn't sugarcoat it? Like how that?
Like, if one of our ideas was like not as strong or it's already happened, she would tell us that. Like she wouldn't like encourage it to go forward if it's already been done.
I appreciate you guys saying that. That's a tough thing to do, right? To tell young people that are inventing, oh, hey, this idea is not going to work, right? And then help steer them away from that. Yeah, that's a really important point. All right, guys. So what was a highlight from the year?
Probably the best highlight of it was when we had like our final meeting with our client and we were able to show like what we created and how excited he was. Just made it feel like it was all worth it in the end.
It's awesome. Thanks, Team Siphon. Appreciate it. All right, Team Ephemeral. Tell me a little bit about a significant challenge that you guys experienced throughout this year.
So one of our main challenges was just coming up with our idea because the park had so many issues that there are many different ways to tackle. And also once we zoned in on the invasive species issue, we had to, figure out how to do that. And that took a long time, but we eventually got something.
Awesome. And how did you guys stay motivated or what helped you stay motivated through the challenges that you experienced?
We reached out to this master gardener at NC State, and he thought that our product would be very destructive towards the environment. But then we researched further and we found out there's these chemicals like imizapic that specifically target individual species instead of just the entire area, which really works well with our product.
Awesome. What was a highlight?
Definitely, because we really had two things. We had the pump working on its own, and then we had the Arduino working on its own with the screen, and getting those two things finally connected together was like a really big stepping stone for us.
Great. What's interesting to me is I've been doing this for a while now with Project Invent, and every year it's always fascinating to me to see all the teams that come together, and everybody goes through their unique struggles, but everyone's going through similar struggles just in their own way, right? And that's just fascinating that we're all on this journey and doing it together and experiencing very similar things and also talking about the joys and the successes in very similar ways. So it's a testament to what we do with this particular program and everything like that and how it works and how it gives people the tools to be successful and then to also feel joy when you're doing good for others. So just thought I'd throw that in there, Lee.
Yeah, I loved hearing that. We've loved getting to join all of you on your journey this year. And I think, Jim, I was just looking at the panelist list. It looks like our judges are back.
Wonderful. That's good news. Okay, so the panelists are back and I'm hoping that they've made their decisions. So it's time for awards, right? Is that, yes?
That's right.
Perfect. Okay, so let's hear a little bit about the 3 awards that we'll be giving today. We are not doing the Need Finder Award as Lee shared with us earlier. So today there will be 3 awards given out. The first is the Product Pivot Award, which is presented to a team that had to overcome a number of obstacles. The second award is the Moonshot Award. It's given to a team who identified and created a notably creative product. And last but not least is the Explorer Award that is presented to a team that demonstrated a great amount of learning. So before we start the awards, a quick word to the student teams. What you have done today and in the many months of hard work and innovation leading up to today is incredible. You built something that few people ever will. and you've built something designed to help people in the actual world. And you've done it all as high school students, which is commendable. That's unreal. You've learned the skills to become the fearless problem solvers of tomorrow. So if you do receive an award today, that is obviously very exciting. But if you don't, it's okay. It is far from the end of your journey. I can tell you, having seen several of these, that the journey does not end here. Teams that have not won have gone on to do wonderful things. So I hope all of you will consider returning and continuing your efforts in some capacity next year. With that in mind, let's welcome back the panelists. Panelists, I'm going to turn it over to you to present the awards. When you present, please share the type of award and its description, as well as the awarded team's name. Here we go.
Okay. Well, I would just like to echo those thoughts. Mike and I, we're so utterly impressed, as well as with Tim, who was not able to be here at this point in time. We're seeing the very tail end of everything that you've done, but I honestly, speaking for myself, would love to hang out with all of you to climb inside your brains and see what else you got in there, because you're clearly mature, resilient, empathic, and creative, and skilled technically. So brilliant job, all you guys, and thank you for all the hard work that you've put in. And so why don't we had the hard job of trying to figure out who was going to get these 3 awards out of the 6 teams. So we struggled, we lost some hair, but we do have some answers for you. So we're going to go first with Product Pivot, and I'll go first on that one. And the Product Pivot Award is all about overcoming many obstacles. Now, all of you had to overcome many obstacles, but there was one team that stood out for us in terms of that particular award. And so the Product Pivot Award goes to Team Siphon.
Thank you so much.
Thank
we really
you.
appreciate that.
Couple of highlights for you guys, and this is really meant for everyone who's listening, not just Team Siphon. We were really impressed by the level of empathy that you gave to the caregiver and the care receiver, looking at the whole picture, not just in isolation. You saw the entire ecosystem, even going to the EMT level, and seeing how all of those people's needs interact. You didn't shy away from the tremendous medical and technical complexity that was there, nor from the emotional and intimacy complexity of dealing with such a challenging issue. I thought your competitive assessment was really strong. It included not just what was near at hand, but actually other global providers. Like med device is a huge competitive and very complex space, and you managed to find some people in Japan who were working on the same problem. And you were courageous enough to realize that you needed to pivot, and that's where the Product Pivot Award comes in. It's hard when you're building something, when you're in love with the problem as well as your potential solution. It's really hard to have the courage to say, you know what, I think we can do better, and you guys did. So hats off to you, and congratulations.
Thank you again so much. We really appreciate it.
Are we moving on to
over
the
to you,
next?
Mike. Mhm.
All right, we are going to do the Explorer Award, and that one is you prioritized learning. And with that one, that award will go to Lady Lion.
Oh. Yay.
Cheers. I'll pause for applause and cheer. So some more details on that. Here, the way you guys set up the problem and put in the audio. My notes are cut off here. Hold on. Let's see. Yep, the way you set up the problem and you put the audience, you brought us along, you put us in the user's shoes. You had a clear story from the get-go, how you're solving it, your product pivots, the logic and how everything worked, and at the end of the day, like just the delivery of your solution. You had the video snippets, you had multiple users, which is key. Like when you're solving a problem, it's nice to have one key user, but when you can make a solution that actually appeals to many or a multitude of people. And then I noted here to the creative research with the YouTuber, like that's amazing as well. Like you're using the area, the modern, I guess, I'm just going to stop there. There's something nice about that. And then towards the end of the presentation as well, just like bringing us along with the logic of how you actually map things to the solution, but also went back to saying, hey, it could have been Braille, like how you tried things, pivoted and whatnot. So again, congratulations for getting the Explorer Award and kind of prioritizing learning in the journey.
Yay.
All right, do you want to take the last one as well, or we can both?
Yeah, why don't you start off and I'll fill in.
All right, the Moonshot Award is our last one, and it's notably novel or impactful idea. And this one, again, this can go for all of them, right? These are kind of very broad spectrums, but the winner of the Moonshot Award will be Fashion Forward. Yay. And our winner notes, basically we saw uses beyond just sewing, right? And sewing in general is somewhat the way we love that you have the actual prototype live with you right now, even as we speak. And you learn from the prototype, talking about the position, the tech behind it, the real world constraints that we're all living through right now. You brought that up with the supply chain. Like it's good to vocalize and share those kind of like shortcomings and how you went past those milestones. Lisa, want to continue some more points?
Yeah, we both felt that while every team really took on, big ideas, it's also nice to design for just the pleasure of enabling people to do the things they loved. And we saw that across a couple of the teams. And, to have sort of the care and concern, understanding that your user, Dana, loved nothing more than to sew. And it wasn't just about the sewing, it was about an overall career ambition for her. And taking the time to really design for something that may seem like, it's a hobby. No, it really is. It really is something that's important to that user. So the empathy that went into it was great. And, when you mentioned that, while you didn't let her get a stitch in, now that would have really put you over the top if you had allowed her to get a stitch in there. The fact that you were able to learn that you needed to change the position of the screen is potent, because the more you actually get to put your prototype in front of your user, even at the lowest fidelity possible, you're going to learn important things that help you make a better experience for the user. And so I would encourage all of you to keep going with that, to put your creations in front of your users where you legally and technically can do that, and to understand how you can improve them. So that was just another thing that we thought was very strong about Fashion Forward.
And again,
Thank you guys so much.
Everybody, great job. If we had awards for everybody, you'd get them, but it was hard. It was a hard 30 minutes.
It was. It always goes by so fast.
All right, that concludes our demo day. But before you go, let's congratulate teams Siphon, Lady Lions, and Fashion Forward, and all the other amazing teams today. And a huge thank you to the panelists, Lisa, Tim, Mark, our keynote, Ayana, and our sponsor, Google, our audience and donors, and to everyone who helped these teams along their journey, teachers and support staff and so on and so forth. And also Lee, let's give a big hand to Lee for putting this all together and helping us out as well. All right. You can continue to donate to Project Invent and help us enable this mission of empowering young people to innovate all year round. Happy Tuesday. I wish everyone a great rest of the week and a weekend. Enjoy yourselves, and thank you for joining me today. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. We so appreciate you. And I heard Jim say this several times. We also want to just continue to thank Google for providing the funding that's needed to award our students. So thank you so much, Google. And Mike is also representing them here today too, as one of our judges. Thank you, students, for being so wonderful and creating such a wonderful experience for all of us to get to join in today, sharing all of your journeys and your learnings along the way with us here. So thank you all so much. We can all unmute and say goodbye, and we'll go ahead and end our demo day.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.